This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Central Texas Life. And something that's very new and very exciting is on its way to Waco, and that is called the Waco Bridge. And joining me today, I have my good friend, Andrea Kosar, who you've been on this podcast before for other things, but you are coming to us as the general manager of the Waco Bridge. Sitting next to you is Dominic Villa, who, let me see, Dominic, your title is what? Tell us exactly what you'll be doing with the Waco Bridge.
For sure. So my position is community engagement and events manager. Say that 3 times quick. So I'll be.
I know it was long. That's why.
Yes, I'll be handling mostly just being in the community, making sure that we're fostering relationships, and making sure that we're, being around town, being accessible to people.
Yeah.
And then beside that, obviously handling the events and putting a lot of smiles on people's faces and make sure that we're hearing from everybody. So that's a lot of what I'll be doing.
Okay, and last but not least, J.B. Smith, who is going to be the editor-in-chief, correct?
That is
for the
right.
Waco Bridge. So we're kind of throwing this name around. Waco Bridge, and what this is going to be a nonprofit local news source. Brand new, never been tried before, and it's part of the Texas Tribune. Now, last week we heard in depth from the powers that be at the Texas Tribune about how this came about, and this is you're the boots on the ground, you three, the start of it. But JB, let's talk a little bit about what your vision is for this source for local news.
Well, I think, Ann, thanks for having us on, and I appreciate being on this show with somebody who's been in the local news media with me for so long. I think that what we're doing is pioneering a new model of journalism. And this is new even for the Texas Tribune. And to be clear, the Texas Tribune is getting us started. And they have incredible resources. We've been there this month with them, and they have some super smart, talented people there that are going to help us launch without having to go through a lot of the trial and error that we might have to do. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be the Waco Bridge. It's going to be a locally run newsroom. The Texas Tribune is getting us started, and they're supporting us. But we have, as you see in this room here, Waco people that are launching this thing. So I've been in the community 27 years, and as in the journalism business in Waco, and Andrea and Dominic have such deep roots here that I think that people can look at us and say these are Waco people mm-hmm. that are doing this. Mm-hmm. And so I think what's is new about this model is that we're not just looking for what's going to get the most web hits, what's going to what are people going to click on, right? We hope people will click on us, but we're going to be working on getting news out in a variety of platforms with a focus on what people are interested in learning about, what helps them become better informed about their communities and even get involved in their communities. And I think that's new that's a new model of journalism that is grassroots, bottom up, looking at everything from the lens of the citizen.
Mm-hmm. Andrea, we've known each other a long time. KXXV days, you were morning anchor when I was doing Central Texas Living, and then your wonderful step to being the president and CEO of the Syntex Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, knocking it out of the park, as I knew you would with that. So this is a brand new thing. What kind of led you to this step to be the general manager of the Waco Bridge?
This is such a cool organization, and I think it really blends a lot of my passions between journalism and nonprofit and community work, which is so exciting. We both graduated from Baylor's journalism department and had a chance to work with all of the wonderful people involved in that department over the years. And you and I have also worked out in the community, just getting to know what Waco's all about. And I think in this organization, we really get to do a lot of great storytelling, but really just good information sharing. When you have good information, that is the best way to make sure that you know how to better your circumstances or improve your circumstances. And I think that's really what we're all about at the Waco Bridge, is just making sure that every citizen gets to know what resources are out in the community, what opportunities they have. And honestly, I get to work with such wonderful people here on the team, so I'm very, very excited about that. JB, with all of his experience, he's also crossed cultural barriers. I think you worked in Guatemala for a little while.
Yeah, I've been to Guatemala for language school, but did some reporting in Mexico, some kind of in-depth, long-form reporting in Mexico over the years.
Yeah, I think that's just truly incredible. And Dominic, you've been in Waco your whole life. You've gotten to know the ins and outs of this community. So I'm really excited to bring experience, but really just to get to work with such passionate people.
And Dominic, now you have a background in photography and videography and marketing, storytelling. In fact, you were with TFNB, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
when
ma'am.
when you made this move, I know they were sad to see you go. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and I know you're pretty engaged on social media as well, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I have born and raised here in Waco. Went to all the local Waco schools. And this position for me was like a dream come true. It was tough to leave TFNB. I mean, that was like home, and it was like leaving my family's house for the first time. It was tough. This position with the bridge, it's just such a wonderful chance to really connect people in the community on a broad level. As like Andre was saying, when you connect people with information, you allow them to make better decisions and better choices for themselves. So a lot of what I'll be focusing on is audience growth and audience development. So what does that mean? This is obviously, I want everybody in Waco to subscribe to the Waco Bridge. I want everybody to be following what we're doing. But more importantly, I want people to be more engaged in their civic duties. I want people more engaged in media literacy. And what does that mean for people in Waco to be more aware of their surroundings and aware of the things going on around town?
JB, of course, your long tenure with the Waco Trib, and my husband's comment when he was city councilman, you were always, I guess that was your beat, because, and Mike always said, JB was always so good. He always asked great questions that allowed, an intelligent answer, and he never felt like you were going to burn him, and I think journalism has kind of gotten a bad rap, so for, just a lot of things, but you're going to be hiring reporters, right?
Yes.
This is not the full staff of the Waco Bridge.
No, this is just the core. Yeah.
All right. So what is it? Who is it you're looking for in those roles?
Yeah. Well, and to your point about I was at City Hall. I was covering city government for about 20 years, and then I transitioned to be the managing editor at the Waco Tribune-Herald for 7 years, and I really enjoyed the aspect of being a community journalist. Because you felt like you felt like you could actually interact with people who've been affected by what you've written and what you've reported on, and also if there's a city councilman and you burn him like Mike Carter, you'll hear from him the next day, and you may run into him at HEB, and so
That's true.
you learn to make sure that you have that you can defend what you've reported, and I found that sometimes when I've been, I've written or we've reported something that is not flattering to somebody, they'll still talk to me again.
Oh, yeah.
Because we try to be fair.
Yeah.
As journalists, and so I think what we're looking for is that kind of reporter. I think we're looking for people who are not just fly by night, not just people who see Waco as a stepping stone to something bigger, like I want to go to New York City,
Right.
or Chicago or somewhere, but people who see that Waco is worth covering in itself. It's interesting,
Waco's got a lot of stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I've covered neighborhood association meeting.
Yeah.
For that matter, I've covered the Board of Adjustment meeting.
Wow.
And I never felt like that was beneath me. I always thought that, covering the story of Waco is as important as being on the, national news, because it matters a great deal to the people who are reading it. And I feel like I think we have an opening to build trust here that's much more difficult to build on a state or national level.
Well said. I think that really is true. Yeah, and as you say, even that Board of Adjustment meeting, these are people who volunteered their time. They're not getting paid to do this, you know. So these are civic-minded folks, and yet decisions they make can affect a lot of people. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And as I understand it, you know, the motivation really for the Texas Tribune, you know, all the way down. Dominic, you mentioned events and stuff, and so this is a nonprofit format, a not-for-profit. So how do you make payroll? I mean, how does that work, Andrea?
We're really hoping that the community sees our value, sees everything that our team is really trying to do in the community to make Waco better, and that everyone can see that vision and invest in something like this being a part of Waco. The Texas Tribune is going to be helping us for the first bit of this, but we're going to be relying on our community to make sure that we're all in this together, to put this great information out there, to be out in the community, and for people to feel empowered through our organization.
Yeah, and so you mentioned events, Dominic. What kind of things are you thinking?
Well, for events, I mean, we've looked into what Texas Tribune does, and if you're familiar with them, you know their game. You know they have events that are just spectacular, and they're so informative. And so we want to replicate that and put it into a Waco level. So, and that ranges anywhere from events with 15 people where we're just sitting around in chairs in kumbaya style and learning about each other. And then there's all the way up to events at maybe somewhere like Herringbone, or we're having bigger dialogue and we're having bands come out and stuff like that. So there really is, the sky is the limit for the events that we can do here in town, as long as the core intention of it is to educate the community, connect the community. Those are the most important things to me. So
Yeah, and I have been able to go to some of these kickoff events, and very impressed with the quality of, as you say, super smart people in Austin, sort of, you know, working on this. But Waco truly is a pilot project for the Texas Tribune.
Right.
But they've already kind of set the framework for some other markets. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, and I think that each market is going to be different, and so there's no like cookie cutter template that can apply to every community. I mean, what's going to happen in a big city like Austin is going to be different from Waco, which in a smaller city might look even different from that. But I think that the model is putting the community first, and that sounds like just a cliche, but it's much more than that, because we've been discussing this, and we're like really trying with every story that we write. Hopefully, we're going to be asking that question: who's our audience for this, right? Who wants to know this information? Who does how does this empower people to get involved in their community? And it may not always look like that, something grandiose. Sometimes it can just be profiles on people who are making a difference, and that's one of the first things we're going to be doing, is just kind of some mini profiles on folks in ordinary folks in our community who beyond their job are doing interesting and useful, important things.
yeah.
Everybody has a story. I think that's on the wall over there at the silos. But it really is true. And that's kind of, I guess, if there's a mission statement for this podcast, it's been just an ordinary person who sees a need, sees an issue, and says, yes, I'll do something about it. And then it becomes this gigantic, worldwide, global thing, they wouldn't have dreamed in a million years it would become. I think those kinds of stories are so encouraging and inspiring, and people want to know about that and find ways to help. So in your research, Andre, what have you seen as far as who you think that target market might be? Is it going to be Zoomers? Is it going to be, what is it, Alpha? Is he earlier than them? So
I mean, we're still building this, but again, like JB has said over and over, with the community in mind, we want to make sure that every voice is heard. And again, a lot of these things sound like we're talking in cliches, but when you bring passionate people together who really care about every nook and cranny of Waco.
Yeah.
We're going to be out there hitting the pavement and being in every neighborhood and every local business. And so we're working hard to make sure that everyone's voice is heard as we're building our audience. But a great way for everyone to get involved is to go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter and find out what events are going on, find out how you can be a part of some of these harder hitting conversations and a part of these news stories and a part of sharing this information. And you're on the launch committee with some other folks who also have just such a passion for Waco. So we're building a team much bigger than the three of us right now that are very passionate about making sure that North, South, East, West, Waco are all a part of this.
Shades is your trusted partner in stage lighting, offering a wide range of high-quality, innovative products since 2015. With designs that cater to all needs, fast delivery, and affordable prices, we provide exceptional customer service to ensure your satisfaction. With warehouses across the globe and sales in over 100 countries, Sheds is quickly becoming one of the most recognized names in the stage lighting industry. Visit shehds.com today to discover top-tier stage lighting solutions and become part of our global network.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. We use the finest materials like Italian top-grain leather, known for its durability and luxurious feel, and apply meticulous attention to detail in every piece we create. Our replicas are crafted with the same care and precision as the originals, but a price that makes them accessible. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. At 25 Home, our ultimate goal is to provide you with a transformative experience, making each day feel like it has an extra hour. We believe your home is more than just a space, it's a sanctuary where comfort, relaxation, and happiness thrive. Discover the difference at 25 Home today. Shop now at 25home.com.
And how can people sign up for the newsletter?
How do you do that?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can go ahead and put something.
We'll have it.
So go to wacobridge.org, and
Yeah.
that's sort of that'll be our homepage. But it's not just going to be a homepage. We'll also be doing the newsletter, and we'll have various platforms that we'll be developing over time.
And so at this point, I mean, you don't have an office site. Is there a plan for that? Or
We are working on that. At this point, we're such kind of a skeletal staff that we don't have a whole lot of needs. But as we hire reporters, I think it's important to have a physical newsroom, even in this age of virtual work. I think having a physical community is important.
I think it's very important. I just remember all those news meetings we would have, at the station, 2:00, everybody in a room together, just sort of, bouncing ideas off each other. There's a lot to be said for that as wonderful as Zoom is. I don't know, it just leaves a little bit lacking.
And we shared desks, the nighttime news team and the morning news team. Right. So you know how a newsroom can be. But I think one of the most important things is when we talk about a community newsroom is it's not necessarily that physical space, but us doing pop-ups all throughout the community, us being present in all parts of Waco as well. We've talked about meeting up at the library for, office hours, or come visit us, come pop by time with the community.
That is something that is going to be pretty new for me, because I felt like I've always been a community journalist, but we're going to really make a full court press to go to where people are and really listen to them, and not just for market data, but what do you want us to write about?
Yeah.
What would you really read about? That's what we want to know.
That's pretty important.
Yeah.
Pretty important to know. Dominic, I've seen some of your social media, that aspect of this, I'm sure is going to be important.
For sure. I think that social media is one of our just great advantages that we have in this day and age, to be able to connect people across backgrounds and across, platforms in itself. So I think that we will have a priority on making sure that we have content that is educational, but also worthy of connection too. So you'll see us posting a lot. You'll see us sharing stories that we produce, and it'll be a space that you can reach out to us, whether that be a DM or email. We never want to be too far away for anything.
Yeah, everything has changed so much, JB, and the way people do take in their news. Of course, we've seen this in television. I mean, for 25 years, I was at 25. We knew viewership was going down. Like for that 10 o'clock newscast used to be the newscast of record, and then it shifted to mornings because you still want to know how to dress the kids for school. You want to know the weather. You want to know that. Will you be covering breaking news at all or not?
Well, I think, that's a great question. And I think it's really a matter of priorities. Certainly if there's if a tornado hits Waco, heaven forbid.
Oh, well, it's
I shouldn't even say that.
I was going to say, because that in this building,
wrong
I know
place.
you're
We're
bringing
not
that
going
up.
to. We're not going to. I've talked to Helen Quire. I've interviewed Helen Quire over the years, and I know what that was like to be in the
Yeah,
Alco
of course,
building.
yeah,
when it's hit dead on by a tornado. Right?
She's my aunt.
Right.
And so
That's right.
she was my first podcast interview here in this building.
I interviewed
She
her the
referred to
first
it as
year-
my
first-
building.
It was her building.
It was her
And
building.
The first year I was here, I interviewed her, but no, I mean we're not going to ignore a big story that's happening, that's developing.
Right.
We're going to try to hit that.
Well, if it's a big story, it's going to have legs, as they say, and it's going
It
to,
is,
you're gonna,
but so again, it's a matter of priorities. Like we're not going to be covering we're not going to be covering house fires and
right.
Car crashes, even murder trials, unless there's some unique aspect that we would want to try to explore, because I mean honestly those things are being covered by other media, and we see no need to duplicate what other media are doing. We see ourselves as additive in this market. We're trying to add to the media ecosystem, and we're not gonna get in there and just try to do everything that other media are doing. With a limited staff, we're gonna ask ourselves always what has the most impact on the community, and a lot of that's going to be doing some of the hard work of collecting good data and doing deep reporting on issues, but also in how we present news and information to people, because I feel like often people who try to pick up a newspaper or listen to a newscast or try to really understand what's going on in their community, they don't really know how the system works always. They may not really know, what do county commissioners do? What does who is why is there a city manager and a mayor? Who's really in charge? Yeah. I mean, those things that we as journalists we've just known for so long, we can't always assume that people really know how everything works. Yeah. So we want to we're going to do an emphasis is going to be on explainers that will live, permanently long-term on our website. And we're hoping to do things like guides to schools, like to get really detailed information about schools.
Yeah, parents have so many more choices now about how to educate their kids, and it's important to know.
Yeah, I mean, that as a parent in Waco ISD, I want to know that too. Mm-hmm. Because I have a son who's about to go into high school, and what high school is he going to go to? We're still working on that, and that's the kind of information I want as a community member. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at doing, we're with the help of some of our talented data team at the Texas Tribune, doing some explainers and some guides and some data tools, some interactive data tools where you can, the Texas Tribune has this awesome thing right now that they rolled out last year. It's a tool in there where you can enter your address and it will tell you who you can vote for.
Oh, right.
Like on this, like who your congressman is, who your, what races are coming up, who your senators, state reps. I would hope that we could develop that.
I think that would be great.
Local level.
Yeah, I mean, I live in an area of town on the other side of Woodway, but it's really a part of Waco. Mm-hmm. Had to do with all that annexation stuff.
I covered all of that
back in the day, and so when I have friends who are all involved in Woodway city politics, I was like, I don't vote for any of those people. So really that part can be tricky. But the way I understand it, and when I was first approached to be part of an advisory group, is this going to compete with our legacy media stations and news outlets in Waco? And I just see it as an additional resource. Is that correct?
That is true. And, just like the Texas Tribune does now, and if people are familiar with their model, they're an online digital first organization that provides statewide coverage. And they've been known from the beginning as being, an authoritative source about the Texas Capitol, the Texas legislature. And they've expanded to doing, covering the whole state in more comprehensive ways. But they provide they provide shareable stories that like newspapers across the state, TV stations across the state will pick up their information, and all they have to do is credit. It's free.
That's kind of like the AP.
Except it's the free AP, whereas
you have to subscribe to it.
You have to pay pretty good money for AP.
Pay for AP.
Texas Tribune is doing that for free.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that for free for anybody who wants to pick it up.
Yeah.
And so beyond that, we hope to collaborate with local media in to the extent that they want to collaborate.
Oh, I
with
see.
us.
I think they will. Yeah.
I think it's a refreshing new take on sharing information in the community and being a trusted source of community members who really care. And I'm hoping that people see this as differently as what they're getting on social media at a national level that can be really exhausting. We're sifting through that and sharing what's important to each citizen and each community member, and really focusing on a lot of the things that JB's been talking about, information in the community that will help you be better every day, help your family, get into a better situation every day.
Yeah. Somebody wants to reach out and say, how can I contribute?
Absolutely.
How can they do that?
And we have, several options. We have membership that we're working on for the Waco Bridge. So you can become a member, you can become a friend of the Waco Bridge. You can come out and support our events, and, you can make donations as well, as we have a nonprofit here. So donations are always welcome.
Tax deductible,
and you'll be rounding up sponsors for different events and
yes. And Texas Tribune, they have already done such a fantastic job. They've been in Waco for about 2 years, connecting with so many folks, sharing the vision of this organization. And so it really does have some legs to it. What we're sharing right now, we're, a little newer to the team within the last few weeks. We're creating this thing alongside the Texas Tribune, but they've done a fantastic job of just getting to know Waco, getting to know the folks in Waco, and really connecting and showing what this can be. And like JB said, we're pioneering this thing. Yeah. This is going to pop up hopefully in communities across the state and then across the nation. And Waco gets to be the flagship, which is absolutely incredible. So if we want to see this be successful, and if we want to see our news be accessible where you're not having to pay a premium, then we really want to make sure that that's accessible to the whole community. And we need a lot of sponsors and donors just buying into that vision and making sure that we can be better as a community as a whole, that we can, make better decisions that improve our economic development, because we've seen so much growth here, that, people have the right information when they're voting and when they're choosing their representatives. And so this is a really wonderful thing for our community's growth. We're in such a great position right now for this to come to Waco. So we need lots of donors. We need our members, our friends, our event attendees. There are so many ways to make this thing grow and be successful in Waco.
Yeah, I think the future looks so very bright for Waco, and to see this groundbreaking journalism model kind of come to life in Waco. But JB, you said this sort of nonprofit journalism was something you've been looking at for a while. You've been thinking about it.
It is because, I'll have to be honest. Across the country, the newspaper business is in trouble. And newspapers have been a bedrock of, information, community information for more than a century. Really centuries.
Founding of the country,
going back to the
pamphlets.
Right. Even Ben Franklin supposedly created the postal service so that newspapers could be distributed. Yeah. They've been such an important part of democracy for so long, and the business model of newspapers has really been hurt, not only by people switching to different platforms, but also by Facebook and Google taking so much ad revenue that it's really difficult to compete with those organizations. So newsrooms have shrunk, and I think that everybody knows that who's in the business. I was interested in seeing how we could expand the number of journalists who are working in our market. And there's always a core of people that wake up every morning in this community and saying, how can we provide information that people want in Waco, Texas? Mm-hmm. That's all they care about. They're not looking to promote anything. They're just like, what do people care about? What do people want to know about? And I see us as we're adding more of those people. And I hope that we're going to get some really good people that are going to be building their careers here. Mm-hmm. Like I've built my career here after I was hired by Bob Lott in 1997.
I know, a good friend of mine. Yeah. Well, Waco has a great legacy of wonderful journalists, and I just am so excited to see the addition of the Waco Bridge to the mix, to see what kinds of stories you want to cover, and anything I can do to help. I'm more than happy. In fact, I'd love to have this three. Let's bivouac in a year, and take a look.
Yeah,
now the actual rollout is going to be May, though, correct?
Well, we're having, I guess, what you might call a soft launch. We are already starting with newsletters now. That the newsletters for now would be pretty limited and mostly talking about what we're doing, but also kind of give a roundup of local news and some featuring some people in the community. We will be hiring reporters in April, and I think that we can really start covering the community in a deep way starting then.
Yeah.
But it's only going to grow over the next year or two, and we're starting a brand new organization that doesn't have. There's no template for this.
Right.
I've researched this. I've even read a book about nonprofit newsrooms, and I can't find anything like this.
Yeah.
I mean, like a mid-sized community that's doing this. I've seen like very small organizations that are shoestring, and I've seen the very big ones like the Texas Tribune or New Jersey Spotlight. But we're kind of in that missing middle, and I think we're going to be learning how to do that.
Well, maybe in your spare time you can write that book.
That's right. In my retirement, maybe.
Well, guys, thank you so much. This has been a delight for me to kind of hear your heart and your passion for the Waco Bridge. J.B. Smith, of course, Andrea Kosar, my dear, and Dominic Villa, my new friend. So it's great to have you, and I'm serious about let's in a year let's see how things are going, because I think the future is very bright for the Waco Bridge as well.
Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you, and thanks for being with us for Central Texas Life. See you again next time. Bye bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder. This has been a Rogue Media Network production.